We said in the previous video that the basic meaning of Matthew's story of Jesus' temptation here is that Jesus is the new and true Israelite. But there is so much more going on in this text, and we're just going to try to explore some of these things in this little video here. Now, the first thing that we must recognize is a temptation by the devil is in some way always a reference to Genesis 3, where Adam and Eve were tempted by the devil also with something to eat, very similar to what the devil is attempting here with Jesus. So there is a reference to Genesis 3, and it seems that Matthew is just the way he tells the story is it has an overtone of Jesus being the new Adam. Just like Adam is the father of humanity, so Jesus is the father of the new humanity. So Matthew is hinting at that by telling the story in a way that we detect those overtones of Genesis 3. The other thing, which is even more obvious, is the reference to Zechariah 3. Now, Zechariah 3 is a very interesting story. Where do we detect this reference? Well, Zechariah 3 has a story of the high priest Joshua, not the leader in the Bible, but the high priest at the time that Zechariah lived. Joshua, the high priest, and the devil. Now, in the Greek translation of the Old Testament, which is called Septuagint, those two names, Joshua, and the name or the word for the devil, which is in Greek diabolos, those very names that are used in Zechariah 3, Joshua and diabolos, are used by Matthew in his telling of the story. Devil, diabolos, and Jesus, Joshua. Now, what is Zechariah 3 about? That is a relatively odd vision, and it sees the high priest Joshua as he stands there, and right next to him is the angel of the Lord, and on the other side is the devil. And these two are sort of arguing, and the angel of the Lord is rebuking the devil, and Joshua is in a way caught up in the middle of that. It is a relatively odd vision, but the great promise that we find in Zechariah 3, as these two, the angel of the Lord and the devil, are arguing, and Joshua is standing in the middle, the great promise we find here is that the angel of the Lord says in the end that what is happening here is a promise of the things to come, and it is when I will send in the branch. Remember, we have spoken about this almost term for the Messiah, the branch, the sprout of David, the one who will come out of David's house, the Messiah. So that is how we know, and that's what Matthew wants us to detect, that just as Zechariah 3 is a very messianic passage, so this passage is about the Messiah. And remember, we said in the previous video, the devil is not so much tempting Jesus to sin. He is rather testing him, checking what kind of Messiah is Jesus going to be. And how do we know that this is the key question of this passage? And the answer is because of this clear reference to Zechariah 3. Now, the other promise that the angel of the Lord is made here is that when this branch comes, God will in one single day, take away all the sin of this land. Now, that is a very profound promise, and of course, again, it is a messianic promise. So that is the text that Matthew works with in here, and all we want to do now in the next video is look more in detail what these three temptations are about and how he is testing that messiahship of Jesus.